As a product designer, I've been in this field for a long time, about 2 decades now, and I kind of thought I'd seen it all. But then I picked up this book on usability. I mean, a book that is practically ancient by internet standards, and it just completely rewired how I think about my entire job. It made me realize the most important rules of design, they're not new at all. So let me just kick things off with a question for you. What do you think is the single most important rule in product design? Is it, to make something beautiful, to be super innovative, to have the absolute cleanest code? And look, those are all great things, don't get me wrong. But the real answer, the one that honestly changed everything for me, is way, way simpler and a whole lot more powerful. To really get why that simple rule is so powerful, I think I have to start with a bit of a confession. I gotta tell you about the biggest mistake I made for years as a designer. Yeah, early in my career, I was basically designing for other designers. I was chasing awards, trying to get my work featured on all the cool design blogs. I wanted my portfolio to just scream creative genius. So I'd use these really unconventional layouts, these slick new interactions, because I thought that's what good design was all about. I was trying way too hard to be clever. But here's the thing. Here's the problem with that whole approach. This slide pretty much nails the massive disconnect I was missing. See, while I was focused on creating this, beautiful, innovative experience, the user just wanted to find the chainsaw. While I was trying to impress them with some unique UI pattern, all they wanted to do is book the flight. My goal was to show off my skills. Their goal was just to get it done and get on with their day. And that realization led me to the core idea that changed, well, everything. The real goal of great design isn't about being clever or even about minimizing clicks. It's about eliminating unnecessary thought. Every single time a user has to stop and wonder, wait, what does this mean? Or, where do I go now? You're failing them. You're making them burn mental energy they just shouldn't have to. So this big aha moment is really built on a few core principles. And the first one, maybe the most fundamental, is just accepting how people actually use the things we build. And here's the hard truth. They don't read, they scan. I mean, think about it in your own life. When you land on a web page, you're almost always looking for something specific, right? You're on a mission. You instinctively know you don't need to read every single word to find what you're looking for. So you scan. You look for keywords, headlines, anything that looks like the thing you're hunting for. We're all absolute experts at this. We do it with books, magazines, restaurant menus, every single day. And this isn't some new digital thing. Not at all. As this slide shows, newspapers have basically mastered designing for scanners for over a century. That big, bold headline, that tells you the most important story. The smaller headlines guide you to the secondary topics. You can get the gist of the entire page in seconds without reading a single full sentence. That, right there, is the power of a good visual hierarchy. So, how do we actually do this in our work? Well, it's pretty simple, really. First, create that clear visual hierarchy. Then, use headings and subheadings, like there's signposts on a highway. You want to break up those intimidating walls of text into short, easy-to-digest paragraphs. And of course, use bulleted lists, just like this one, to make your key points really jump off the page. Okay, so this leads us right into the second principle. And I gotta admit, this was a tough pill for my younger, more creative self to swallow. Stop reinventing the wheel. What I'm talking about here are design conventions. These are the shared understandings we all have about how websites and apps are supposed to work. They're the signposts of the digital world. And they're incredibly powerful because they make your product feel intuitive right out of the box. The user doesn't have to learn a whole new language just to get around your little corner of the internet. This slide is the perfect example. Did anyone ever give you a user manual that said, by the way, clicking the logo in the top left corner of a website takes you to the home page? Of course not. You just know. And why? Because thousands and thousands of websites follow that exact same convention. When you break a rule like that just to be different, you're not being creative. You're just being confusing. Now, look, this does not mean you should never innovate, not at all. But what it does mean is you should save your innovation for where it really, truly counts, for when you've found a genuinely better way to solve a user's problem. For everything else, all the basic mechanics of your interface, just use the solution that people already know and understand. Don't make them think. And that brings us perfectly to our third principle, which is all about a relentless, obsessive pursuit of clarity. Your job is to hunt down and remove every single question mark that might pop into a user's head. This right here is probably one of the most important ideas in all of usability. For years, designers were obsessed with the 3-click rule. But it was never about the number of clicks. It's about the mental effort of each click. A user will happily click 10 times if each and every step is an obvious, mindless, yep, of course this is next kind of choice. But just one single click that's ambiguous, one click that's full of doubt, that can derail the entire experience.
This is what that doubt actually sounds like inside a user's head. This is the mental chatter we create with unclear design. Okay, wait, am I a subscriber or an online member? What's the difference? Where am I supposed to find my account number? Is this thing a button or is it just a decoration? Oh man, what happens if I click the wrong thing here? Am I going to have to start all over? Every single one of these questions is a point of friction.
So the goal is simple. Your job as a designer is to silence that mental chatter. You want to make every link, every button, and every choice so blindingly obvious that there's simply no room for questions. The user should feel like they're being gently guided down a clear, well-lit path, not like they're trying to solve a puzzle in the dark. All right, and that brings us to the final principle, which is my favorite because it ties everything together with this really powerful metaphor, the user's goodwill reservoir. Just imagine that every single person who comes to your website or app arrives with a full tank of goodwill. They have a limited, finite supply of patience and trust. Every time they have a smooth, thoughtless interaction, you add a little bit to that reservoir. But every time you frustrate them, confuse them, or waste their time, you drain it. So what kind of things drain that reservoir? Oh, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's all the little things we sometimes overlook. Hiding the customer service number when they desperately need it. Punishing them for putting spaces in their credit card number. Asking for their grandmother's maiden name just to sign up for a newsletter. And of course, every single intrusive pop-up. These aren't just minor annoyances. They are active withdrawals from their bank of trust. And here's why this matters so much. When that reservoir runs dry, users don't just click away. It is so much worse than that. They start to build a negative association with your entire brand. They remember you as that frustrating website or that confusing app. You haven't just lost a sale, you've lost their trust. And maybe you've lost it for good. When you put all of these principles together, it leads to a really simple but profound conclusion. Good design, it's not about being flashy or clever or artistic. At its core, it's an act of common courtesy. It's about respecting the person on the other side of the screen, respecting their time, respecting their intelligence, and respecting their patience. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you're working on a project, for every single decision you make, from the big ones to the tiny ones, just ask yourself this one simple question. Is this choice filling my user's goodwill reservoir, or is it draining it dry? Answering that honestly, well, I guarantee it'll make you a better designer.